Hello guys, my name is Atsep and today I bring you a video about a PC that I set up with only 160 euros. This PC is capable of running recent games with a respectable frame rate for a PC that in total costs as much as the AMD Ryzen 5 3400G APU. To start things off, let's take a look at the CPU, which is the AMD Athlon X4 860K. It features 4 cores running at 3.7 GHz base clock with a boost clock up to 4 GHz. The motherboard is the Gigabyte GAF2A88XM-D3H, oh my god, a socket FM2 micro ATX board that luckily has 4 RAM slots. Speaking of RAM, the PC has 4 sticks of 2 GB DDR3 each at 1333 MHz. 2 of them are Kingston HyperX and the other 2 are Samsung's. And to cool the CPU, we have the Cooler Master Hyper 103 with a blue LED to bring that gaming bling. These components were purchased in bundle for 60 euros from a friend of mine who wanted to get rid of this. The graphics card is the MSI GTX 950 2GB. It cost me 50 euros, yep, the used market in Portugal is pretty bad. In any case, it still has a good performance in my opinion. As a boot drive, I bought a 120GB SSD, the Kingston A400 for 20 euros new, and for storage I saved this 1TB Western Digital Blue hard drive from imminent death, so it was free for me. Finally, I bought this case for 20 euros new. It is the Colink KLA-002 and this generic looking 600 watt power supply was bought used for 10 euros, but as the PC doesn't consume that much energy, I'm not worried at all. This brings us to a final build cost of 160 euros, which is pretty good in my opinion. And I was able to sell this PC for 250 euros. So not bad for me, I think. But now let's take a look at the gaming performance. First, let's take a look at CSGO. Running this game at 1080p and max settings, this PC is able to output 83 FPS on average and 44 FPS 1% loss. This game is known to be very CPU dependent and this Kaveri CPU is clearly bottlenecking the GTX 950. Overwatch is another CPU dependent game and again we have CPU bottleneck as you can see in the video. At Full HD and on high settings you can expect 71 FPS on average and some stutter as we can see in the 12 FPS 1% loss. Let's move to another CPU melter, PUBG, and this time I had to use the very low quality setting to maintain a 61 FPS average, and once more the CPU is not capable of maintaining an online game stutter free, showed by 1% loss of 21 FPS. Fortnite was more forgiving and it was quite stable. At 1080p and high settings, it was able to run around 65 FPS on average with 1% loss of 29 FPS, not bad. Now let's leave the multiplayer games and benchmark 2 of my favorite games. The Witcher 3, one of my favorite RPGs of all time, ran fine on medium settings at 1080p. 53 FPS on average and 1% loss of 38 FPS provides a pleasant experience for this game. Remember that The Witcher 3 runs locked at 30 FPS on consoles with similar graphical settings. Borderlands 3 is the latest installment of my favorite game series and once again the CPU cried to run this game. The stutter occurs very often as you can see in the 1% loss of 9 FPS despite the average frame rate of 38 FPS. Lowering the quality settings doesn't provide a gain of stability, so there's no point to play it with worse graphics. Overall, I find this build a viable option for people with a very limited budget to play modern games if they don't mind a little bit of stutter here and there. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please leave a like. If not, leave a dislike. Feel free to comment on the video. Also, I have another build in the works, even cheaper, so subscribe for more videos. I know that this channel doesn't update much, but that is due to my PhD that takes too much of my free time. I hope you the best. Cheers.